Beneath the overpass, where I set up my fortune-telling stall, a man approached me, seeking guidance on his destined relationships. I gazed at the ominous 7 killing star dominating their compatibility chart. With a heavy sigh, I delivered the grim news. You two are simply not fated to be together. The man burst into a wild, unsettling laugh, throwing his head back to the sky. 12 consecutive readings, and not a single one includes her. Fine. I'll just kill that fortune teller. He then turned to me, his gaze unsettling. Who are you? What did you just say? My name is Sage Xiao. I'm a Taoist priest whose temple burned down, leaving my master no choice but to send me down the mountain to earn money. I'm not particularly adept at exorcism or sending spirits to the afterlife. But my sixth sense is remarkably accurate. Fortune-telling, buzzy readings, and drawing. Tally the best. I'm the best. So I had no other choice but to set up a stall beneath the overpass. Just as I finished arranging my tools of trade, I reached out my hand, and 3 coins tumbled to the ground. I bent to pick them up, but my hand froze just before touching them. 3 reversals, an old yin hexagram. Oh no, this is utterly disastrous, a great omen of doom. I lifted my head, squinting at the glaring sun. In that moment, faced with the choice between making money and relaxing, I decisively chose to go home and play games. Quickly shedding my Taoist robes, I was about to fold up my Bagua tablecloth when a large hand suddenly pressed down, pinning the fabric. Startled, I looked up. My eyes met a haggard face, his hair drenched, eyes weary and clouded with a dark aura. And to top it off, a faint greenish glow seemed to emanate from the top of his head. Before I could even tug the cloth free, he spoke. Fortune teller, can you tell me if there's any future left for me and my wife? My eyes widened in shock. I pointed to myself, bewildered. Me? You want May to do it? Under his expectant gaze, I sat down, closed my eyes, and requested his and his wife's baisie. Resigned to fate, I began to analyze their compatibility. But his wife's baisie, it didn't look right. Staring at the massive 7 killing star in their destiny chart, I sighed. You two are not compatible. Your wife is dead. Before I could finish, the man erupted in sudden rage. 12 consecutive readings, and not a single one includes her. Fine, I'll just kill that fortune teller. I was so terrified, the rest of my sentence caught in my throat. I quickly retreated. No, no, sir. Please calm down, the man sneered. Calm down? How can I calm down? 12 readings. Every single one of them said no. Every single one advised me and my wife to break up. Fine, fine. I'll kill you all. Then no one will stop me and my wife. I was stunned speechless. I tried to retort, no, sir. If you don't kill me, no one will stop you anyway. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. This man, loving a dead person, what does that have to do with me? As long as he's happy, if he wants to love a corpse, it's none of my business. God. Before I could even process my thoughts, the man, without warning, pulled a huge saber from seemingly nowhere and swung it at me. I hadn't even packed my things when I scrambled to the side, rolling and crawling to escape. No, sir. If you're facing any difficulties, you can tell me. I can help you solve them. Just calm down, the man roared. It can't be solved. You're not me. You don't understand. With that, he brought the saber down on my fortune-telling table, splitting it in half instantly. My eyes bulged. Is this man for real? That table was made of peach wood. I had to beg my master for ages just to get him to buy it for me. Before I could even grieve, the man raised his saber again, aiming for the incense burner with ash on the ground. That's sandalwood. I scrambled, rolling and crawling, throwing myself to shield the incense burner, hugging it tightly. My body lost balance and tumbled to the ground. What terrible luck! Before I could even run, I ran into a madman, wanting me to read his compatibility with a dead wife. He's truly deranged. Clutching the incense burner, I spotted my peachwood sword not far away. Seizing the moment while the man was distracted, I quickly dashed over and clutched the sword tightly. The man instinctively brought his saber down. I looked up, and the cold blade was pointed directly at my throat. All right, all right. I directly grabbed the hand holding the saber, ducked, and twisted behind him. With one hand, I restrained him, pinning his arm behind his back, while the other hand held the nape of his neck. I wrestled the man to the ground. The saber slipped from his grasp as he fell. Calm down, just a little. By now, the man was much calmer. Ow! Ow, Ollie! Let me go first. I didn't dare release him, instead pressing the nape of his neck down a little further. Ow! 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 I was wrong. Great master. I shouldn't have taken my anger out on you. His voice was thick with sobs as he continuously pleaded for forgiveness. His tone was sincere, and much of the aggression in his eyes had faded. I hesitated for a moment, then reached down to pick up the saber from the ground. After that, I released the man and took a step back. The man, now free, scrambled to his feet. He rubbed his shoulder, stood dejectedly, and bowed his head, lost in thought. Let's talk compensation. My peachwood table was worth tens of thousands. I glanced at the peachwood table, which was actually worth barely 100 yuan, now split in two on the ground, and spoke with a bold facade. The man stood rooted to the spot, unmoving. Kitsk, I thought. He probably realized something wasn't right. I was debating whether to lower the price when the man suddenly spoke. Is it really impossible for her and me? I paused my packing, then let out a laugh. I don't know what rules you have in your world, but here in the living realm, we generally don't encourage marriage with corpses. The man's name was Chen Yu. Fearing he might run off and I'd never get compensation for my peachwood table, I dragged him back to my place. He was now sitting on my sofa, holding a bowl of sacred water, his complexion much better than before. Yet, that greenish aura still hovered above his head. A living person with a greenish aura above their head is an omen of something demonic. Combining this with the bazi of the woman he gave me, I suddenly understood. A recently deceased corpse emits a greenish cadaveric chi. A living person who cohabits with it for a long time will become infected, manifesting this greenish hue. What do you mean by marriage with a corpse? I was busy tapping on my calculator, tallying the compensation. I looked up and said, "Are the 4 words marriage with a corpse really that hard to understand?" The cold, mechanical female voice from my calculator announced 24,1867. I set the calculator down, satisfied. How exactly do I explain to you what marriage with a corpse means? I don't think those 4 words are all that complicated, do they? Chen Yu looked dazed at my words, then stammered. So my wife. Well, is she really dead? I tilted my head, ignoring his question, and handed him the calculated compensation amount. A total of 24,867 yuan. Cash or Alipay? No need to check this type of person. Even if he's healed, he'll still drool. Chen Yu didn't take the money. He just lowered his head, staring blankly at the bowl of talisman water, then sighed and drained it. The greenish aura above his head visibly lessened, and he seemed to calm down. I remember you're a Taoist priest who performs rituals by commission. Can you help my wife cross over? I still want to be with her in the next life. His voice was urgent, full of pleading, devoid of the murderous rage he'd shown that morning. I raised an eyebrow. This is another rarely seen lovesick fool, I thought. It's possible, yes. Chen Yu understood instantly. 200,000 yuan. I was very satisfied. It was a deal. He was truly a man of his word, paying me a 100,000 yuan deposit up front. The next day, I donned my Taoist robes and drove my newly purchased car to work. Following the address Chen Yu provided, I stopped before the gates of a villa. This villa was blessed by the sun on all 4 sides, with good ventilation from north to south. Truly an auspicious home. 2 stone lions stood guard at the entrance to ward off evil. Though these lions were a bit peculiar, they had no teeth. After parking, I approached the villa gate. Pictures of Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, 2 fierce-looking guardian deities, were pasted on the door, seemingly intended to deter all evil spirits. I raised my hand and knocked. The door opened from within, revealing a pale-faced woman. She looked at me cautiously. Who are you looking for? My name is Sage Xiao. I've been commissioned by Chen Yu to send a spirit to the afterlife, I said, adjusting my robes. At the sound of the name, the woman's expression changed. She quickly pulled me inside. You're the Taoist priest my brother found, aren't you? Please, come in, quickly. Her face was filled with anxiety, her voice urgent. It seemed she had been tormented beyond endurance. I motioned for her to calm down, then began to observe the house. This house had good ventilation, square corners, excellent lighting. It was entirely an auspicious dwelling. However, looking at Chen Yu and this girl's faces, it was clear they had been mentally ravaged for a long time. One was pale, the other's face was ashen. Yet, logically, an auspicious house shouldn't be troubled by evil spirits. As I pondered, I inadvertently looked up and saw a massive beam running across the ceiling, pointing directly above the main entrance, severely disrupting the harmonious layout of the house. So, that's it. Yeah. I realized a door opening directly beneath a beam always invites misfortune. Once a person encounter such bad luck, all sorts of unfortunate things will befall them. Chen Yu finding a dead woman as his wife. That's actually quite normal in such circumstances. So, great master, did you find any problems? Xiao Ye, seeing me staring intently at the beam, asked with some tension. When did your brother get a girlfriend? I retracted my gaze and looked at Xiao Ye. She sighed. About a month ago, he suddenly brought a woman home. He said if he didn't marry her, he wouldn't marry anyone. That woman is very strange. She basically doesn't go out during the day, only at night. She only sleeps around 7 a.m. I was momentarily speechless. Well, sometimes I'm like that too, I thought. Aloud, I asked. Besides that, are there any other distinguishing features? Xiao Yi thought for a few seconds. She sometimes smells foul. I nodded, listening to her description. This woman was very likely a living corpse. A hot thief. To put it plainly, a living corpse is a body that is dead, but its soul is eternally imprisoned within. Forced to watch its own decay piece by piece. I once encountered one in Xiangyan. It was eventually sent to the afterlife by Yao Luo. Does your brother's girlfriend also live here? Xiao Yi didn't answer but looked towards the room right next to the beam. I followed her gaze. The door to that room faced directly opposite the bathroom door. I frowned. Another room facing the bathroom. Bathrooms are always considered places of filth. Many evil spirits love to hide here. And the bathroom door is also called a sha, or killing door. Therefore, usually, a bathroom door shouldn't face a room door directly, as the akshai or malevolent energy would rush straight into the room, which is very detrimental to human health. Is she in the room? Shall we take a look? I pushed the door open. Chen Yu's mocking laughter filled the air. Ha 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 ha! You actually came? I'm dying of laughter. You don't really believe I found a dead woman as my wife, do you? Ha 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 ha! Chen Yu was sitting on the bed, a mobile phone in his hand. Its camera pointed directly at me. I told you, all these fortune tellers are frauds. And you insisted he was so amazing. I admire your persistence. From the other end of the phone, Xiang Ying's angry voice retorted. Taoist Master Shao is truly capable. You're messing around with a dead person's bazi. You'll face retribution. Apologize to him honestly. Chen Yu's face was indifferent. I don't believe in ghosts or gods. What dead person's bazi? Haha. That's my sister's bazi. Before he could finish, Shan Ying hung up. Then my phone rang with an apology message from her. With a calm expression, I shrugged, looking at the Chen siblings, Chen Yu with his pale lips, and Xiao Ye. I said so. You used your sister's bazi to trick me. Chen Yu burst into loud laughter. Xiang Ying kept telling me how amazing you are. But, from what I can see, you're nothing special. If your fortune-telling is so accurate, why couldn't you predict that I would trick you? Ha 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 ha! That's my sister's bazi. She's standing right in front of you, a living person, and you said she was dead. Ha 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 ha! I tilted my head and glanced at Xiao Yi beside him. She turned her head away, not daring to meet my eyes. But then again, I thought, if that Bazi truly belonged to her, the grass on her grave would be 2 meters high by now, not her standing here. Moreover, there's no aura of death around her at all. Could my Bazi reading skills have deteriorated? Genyu, seeing that I wasn't embarrassed or flustered, felt bored. You've been exposed and tricked by me, so why no reaction? Shouldn't you at least look humiliated right now? He probably expected me to launch into a loud self-justification. Where's your self-respect? You should at least react a little. My face was a question mark. Yesterday, he paid me a deposit directly to make me believe him. Good heavens, that was a 100,000 yuan deposit. How could anyone sacrifice money for self-respect? He's a stranger, giving me 100,000 yuan for no reason, just to trick me a little. This isn't a trick. This is clearly a generous benefactor. So, how should I react when facing a generous benefactor? Yai. I thought for 2 seconds, then stepped forward and grabbed Chen Yu's hand. Thank you for the 100,000 yuan. I'm delighted to have been tricked by you. Next time you have such a good thing, remember to think of me first. I finished, then pulled the business card from my pocket. You can call the number on this card to find me. For 100,000 yuan? No, for you, I'm more than willing to be tricked. With that, I coolly turned and walked out of the room, without a single backward glance, afraid he might change his mind. Xiao Yi, seeing this, quickly followed me through the living room, her voice trembling slightly. What you said to my brother, was it true? What was true? That the compatibility Bazi belonged to a dead person. I raised an eyebrow, not understanding why she was asking. After all, she was standing there, perfectly healthy. But I still chose to tell the truth. I had already accepted 100,000 yuan from her brother. Based on the Bazi, yes it was. But I heard carefully again. I still don't sense any aura of death from you. Yet, I don't feel anything unusual about you. Perhaps I misread it. I finished, and suddenly a thought flashed through my mind. Those symptoms you lied about, saying they belonged to Chen Yu's girlfriend, they aren't actually yours, are they? Xiao Yi flinched instinctively at my question, then shook her head, pressing her lips together, saying nothing. Her body trembled uncontrollably, as if she was very afraid of me. Seeing her deny my question, I said nothing more. After all, Chen Yu's attitude was clearly no coffin, no tears. Without seeing the truth, he would never believe. And I was too lazy to waste words interfering with someone else's karma, unless he begged me. So, I checked my belongings and left. This villa looked auspicious, but it was actually very eerie. It was best to leave soon. That evening, I returned to the temple. Master was live streaming a fortune-telling session. Oh, Bazi readings via live stream, is it? Master, help me look at this Bazi, I said, walking up to him and handing him the Bazi in my hand, casually turning off the live stream. He was worried about his own account getting blocked, so he used mine to live stream. What a scoundrel! Master, seeing the live stream cut off, angrily looked up, about to scold me, but then met my gaze. Why are you back without a word? He said, taking the white paper with the Bazi written on it from my hand, and glanced at it. Are you messing with me? Giving me a dead person's Bazi to read. What am I supposed to look at? Whether she was buried well? If the grass on her grave is 2 meters high yet, or if her grave has been dug up. Master unhappily threw the paper back at me. I listened, then examined the paper carefully once more. The destiny palace of this Basie indeed indicated that life force had completely run out. Shh, 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 shh. Dead, all right. It seems I wasn't mistaken. I looked at Master, my voice serious, my expression solemn. If I told you this person is still alive, and I've met her, and there's absolutely no aura of death around her, would you believe me, Master? Master, hearing this, dropped his joking expression. His voice deepened. I believe you. After all, your abilities in this area are rather poor. He paused. Then his voice rose again. So it's perfectly normal for you not to detect it. Ha ha! Excuse me, I grumbled, continuing to study the bat. Only after Master had laughed, his fill did he slowly, seriously say to me, is it possible that this isn't a true living corpse, but rather someone who doesn't realize they're dead? So their soul hasn't left, and their bodily functions continue normally? Master finished, then pushed me out of the room. All right, I've said what needed to be said. In short, it's still the same old advice. Don't interfere with other people's karma unless they beg you. Fine. If Master says so, I'll just go to sleep. I turned and went back to my room, pulling the covers over myself and falling into a deep sleep. The next day, before dawn, my phone was ringing off the hook. Taking advantage of the fact that Master's wife hadn't woken up yet, I quickly put it on silent and went back to sleep, completely disregarding the life or death situation of the person on the other end. It wasn't until the sun was high that I finally woke up completely, and just then another call came through. I'd lost count of how many. Great Master Xiao, save us! My sister has gone mad. She's playing with her own head. Chen Yu's voice was trembling and urgent. My face was bewildered. Playing with her head? What does that mean? Does it mean what I think it means? Chen Yu's voice was filled with sobs. Come quickly and save me. She even invited me to play along. From the other end of the phone, Xiao Ye's voice chimed in. Just like when we were little. Chen Yu shrieked. I could hear him running. Great Master Xiao, please come quickly. I was blind. Save my life. I thought for 2 seconds, then slowly uttered 2 words. Beg me. Chen Yu's reaction was lightning fast. I beg you. I'm begging you. I'll kowtow to you. His speed was so astonishing, I had no time to even register it. All right, just try to hold on. I'm coming right away. When I arrived at Chen Yu's house, he was standing on the 2nd floor balcony. Opposite him was a female corpse holding her own head. It was Xiao Ye. Hey, I called out to him. Are you all right? Chen Yu, indeed, was a man of extraordinary composure. Even in this situation, he managed to turn his head and reply, Thanks to your blessings, I'm still alive. Xiao Ye, clutching her head, giggled, then tossed the head towards me. I watched, stunned, as a giggling head flew straight at me. I quickly retreated, then raised my foot and kicked it back. Xiao Yi's head flew towards the back of Chen Yu's neck. He shrieked in fear, squatting down, and the head fit perfectly back onto Xiao Yi's neck, not a millimeter off. Seeing this, Chen Yu immediately tried to butter me up, his voice fawning. Truly, great Master Xiao, so powerful. Even your kick is so precise. I ignored him and went straight up to the second floor. Looking at the situation, if I didn't get up there fast, Xiao Yi would soon be playing with Chen Yu's head. Pushing open the second floor bedroom door, I saw Chen Yu had been cornered to the point where he was almost crawling onto the balcony. Big brother, why are you hiding from me? You used to like me the most when we were little. I drew my peachwood sword and lunged straight for Xiao Yi, shielding Chen Yu. Xiao Yi shrieked in fright, and her head fell to the ground again. I instinctively reached out to catch it. Seriously, big sis, are you cosplaying Louis XIV? This early in the morning, I said, then reattached her head to her neck, took out a celestial binding rope, and tied her to a balcony pillar. Xiao Yi was completely unconscious now, struggling relentlessly. Her eyes, due to prolonged blood deprivation, had turned a grayish blue. Why did she suddenly become like this? I asked Chen Yu after securing Xiao Yi. He scratched his head, looking bewildered. I don't know either. Yesterday, after you left, she suddenly came to my room and asked if the bazi was really her. I told her it was, and she left. Then, in the middle of the night, she came back and asked if I wanted to play ball. Before I could even react, she just ripped her own head off. Chen Yu paused, then continued. I was scared stiff. I thought, how am I going to explain this to the police? She suddenly ripped her head off? Would they even believe me? So I frantically called you, but you didn't answer. I didn't dare run outside either. What if she really just croaked in after playing? How would I explain that to the police? Wow! Chen Yu became more and more distraught as he spoke, finally burying his face in his hands and sobbing. Xiao Yi, behind him, seemed to sense his emotions and also began to sob, clutching her head. Unlike Chen Yu, the person behind him was truly clutching her head and sobbing. I quickly walked over and reattached Xiao Yi's head. After listening to Chen Yu's description and recalling my master's words, I had a pretty good idea of what was wrong with Xiao Yi. She had likely been dead for a long time, but didn't realize it, so her soul hadn't departed. My appearance just happened to make her realize her own death, but she couldn't accept it, leading to her breakdown. When people break down, they usually pull their hair. When a dead person breaks down, they pull their head off. Still, something felt off. I looked at Chen Yu's tear-streaked face and suddenly thought, if the bazi he gave me belonged to him and his sister, but the marriage palaces on their charts clearly showed they had the destiny of husband and wife, could there be a breach of morality between these two? As I thought, I reached out and covered Chen Yu's wailing mouth. Stop howling. First, tell me, is Xiao Yi your biological sister? Chen Yu, who had been crying heartily, was silenced by my question. He glanced guiltily at Xiao Yi on the balcony, then shook his head. No, she's a child bride my family adopted when she was little. I was astonished by those 3 words. What error is this, that there are still child brides? Chen Yu noticed my surprise and spoke with a hint of helplessness. Business families like ours are very superstitious about these things. Lily, Xiao Yi was an orphan girl adopted from an orphanage 1 year younger than me. She was born in the year of the dragon. I understood. No wonder there's a saying that dragon coils rabbit. The more it coils, the richer it gets. But in this zodiac combination, the dragon is constrained, meaning the dragon is completely subdued by the rabbit. Yet the rabbit thrives on the dragon's luck. So why do you two refer to each other as brother and sister now? Chen Yu sighed. Half a month ago, she and I were forced to marry, but neither of us wanted to. Xiao Yi strongly objected, refusing to compromise. After that, she ran away from home and was missing for half a month. Then our parents found her and brought her back. They also compromised. After all, we had always regarded each other as siblings. I frowned, listening to the whole story. Chen Yu, though abstract and like a lovesick fool, when I first met him, his personality had changed too quickly from yesterday to today. The first day I met him, he was a lovesick fool. The second day, he was an arrogant, older brother. Today, on the third day, he seemed to have returned to normal, revealing the secrets between him and Xiao Yi in just a few sentences. You sought me out, surely not just for me to destroy Xiao Ye, right? I said softly. Chen Yu's eyes lit up at my words. He looked towards the surveillance camera in the living room. He typed a message on his phone and showed it to me, confirming my suspicion. I want to beg you to help me send Xiao Yi to the afterlife, so she can reincarnate. But I've asked other yin-yang masters. They said we need to communicate with spirits to find out the truth about Xiao Yi's death. I nodded, my expression serious. That's right. Xiao Yi's current state is a living corpse, a hoti. But it's a bit different from a typical one. Normally, a hoti knows they are dead, but their soul is trapped within their body by certain forbidden techniques, unable to reincarnate. In your sister's case, she completely doesn't know she's dead. Once you remind her, she'll automatically enter a defensive state. In this state, she has no memory. When she wakes up, she'll forget her death again. Therefore, we can only communicate with spirits to see if we can find any ghost who witnessed your sister's death. I emphasized the items I needed from Chen Yu, especially sticky rice and red thread. Chen Yu hurried off to prepare them. As I waited for everything to be ready, I suddenly remembered something very important. I'm only here to perform the ritual to catch spirits. All other services will be charged separately. Chen Yu quickly nodded. Xiao Yi was practically baking outside the door, but until we could determine if she was safe, we couldn't bring her in. After all, a hoti is still a corpse. If she were brought inside and was safe, Chen Yu and I might not be. Half an hour later, Chen Yu finally brought half a bowl of sticky rice and a red thread. I tied one end of the red thread to his right wrist and the other end to an incense stick. Why me? Chen Yu asked, startled. I glared at him. Who else? If a spirit possesses me, and something goes wrong, who's going to save me? You! Chen Yu was speechless. He obediently sat there, waiting for me to proceed with the spirit communication. I held a handful of sticky rice in my left hand, bowed my head slightly, and made a hand seal. The sticky rice immediately ignited. I sprinkled a little rhinoceros horn powder onto it, and a strange aroma filled my nostrils. I then used the burnt black sticky rice to pat Chen Yu's glabella. Chen Yu's slumped head immediately shot up. I ask you this. Did you see a young girl harmed half a month ago? Chen Yu shook his head and immediately blurted out, I drove my black car here. I immediately raised my hand, intending to strike the back of his neck. If you cause any more trouble, believe it or not, I'll chop you to pieces right here. Chen Yu paused for 2 seconds, then turned his head to look at my peachwood sword. Wow, a boss-level wooden sword. He fell silent. After a long moment, his mocking expression receded, and he suddenly spoke. Are you talking about the young girl on the balcony? I raised an eyebrow. It seems even ghosts need a threat to cooperate. Do you know anything about it? Chen Yu nodded, looking at me with a profound expression. Half a month ago I was bored, so I decided to wander around at midnight. We ghosts, after all, enjoy visiting crime scenes. But it was strange. I clearly saw someone tie fishing line between 2 trees, and that young girl was riding her bike so fast, she passed right through it without a scratch. I tilted my head and looked out at the balcony. Xiao, he was now clutching her head to her chest again. Could it be that the young girl wasn't unharmed, but simply didn't realize she had died at that moment? What happened after that? I asked. After that, nothing. The young girl just rode off. Chen Yu skillfully inhaled some of the rhinoceros horn incense, his face looking utterly intoxicated. I couldn't stand his casual demeanor. I raised my hand and cut the red thread tied to his wrist. Chen Yu's head slumped again. A moment later, he suspiciously looked up. What just happened? I gathered the items on the table, glancing at him. I know how your sister died. Go, send her to the afterlife. It was now midday, and the sun was at its fiercest. Xiao Yi outside. I didn't know if she could withstand it. So I walked over, untied the celestial binding rope, picked up her head from the ground and carried her back into the house. I gently placed Xiao Yi on the ground, carefully setting her head back on her neck. With a free hand, I folded a white paper into a guiding ox and placed it on her body. Once everything was arranged, I signaled Chen Yu to be silent, then sat down cross-legged, placing my hands over Xiao Yi's wide-open eyes. I know you died an unjust death, but rest assured, I know how you died. I will naturally find those mischievous children. Release your attachments. I will take care of everything. May you soon reincarnate. I closed my eyes and began to chant the rebirth mantra. By the supreme decree, spirits and specters, all 4 forms of birth, may they receive grace. Those with heads ascend, those without rise. From gunshots and knife wounds, from drowning and hanging, escape the sea of suffering, be reborn as human. I finished chanting and removed my hands from Xiaoye's face. Her eyes were still wide open, as if she couldn't rest in peace. "What's wrong?" Chen Yu asked, astonished. I thought for 2 seconds, then looked at Xiao, his unclosed eyes, and spoke. "It seems Xiao Yi did not die by accident. She was deliberately murdered by someone." No sooner had I spoken than Xiao Yi suddenly raised her hand and fiercely choked Chen Yu. Chen Yu was so terrified by this sudden change that he even forgot to struggle. I quickly grabbed an exorcism talisman and pressed it onto Xiao Yi's hand. A stream of bloody tears flowed from the corners of her eyes, and she released her grip. Chen Yu crumpled to the ground, gasping for breath. "You scared me to death." "What was that?" I crossed my arms, looking at him, and sneered. "You're clearly hiding something. Heaven sees all that people do." Chen Yu lowered his head, lost in thought. After a long time, he slowly looked up, then knelt down facing Xiao Ye. He heavily kowtowed to the ground. When he lifted his head, blood was trickling down from his forehead. "It's our Chen family. We wronged you, sister." Only after he said this did Xiao Yi's hand finally relax. I stood by, utterly bewildered. Chen Yu then turned towards me and kowtowed 3 times. He looked to be about my age. Wasn't this shortening my lifespan? I quickly knelt down, bowing back directly. Chen Yu was stunned, and so was I. "What are you doing?" he asked, gritting his teeth. "What are you doing?" I was genuinely bewildered. Chen Yu sighed, his face apathetic as he looked towards the surveillance camera. "I suspect the ones who killed Xiao Yi are my parents." No sooner had he finished speaking than Xiao Yi's corpse twitched, as if trying to say something. Actually, Xiao Yi and I had already performed the marital bowing ritual. We just hadn't officially registered our marriage. But on the very night of the ritual, she ran away from home. My parents went to look for her then. When they brought her back, Xiao Yi's face was pale. I didn't think much of it at the time, but from that day on, Xiao Yi started to become unwell. I listened, goosebumps rising on my skin. Chen Yu continued. I wanted to ask what exactly happened, but my parents wouldn't say a word. Moreover, recently, I even started smelling a foul odor on Xiao Ye. An answer I dared not imagine surfaced in my mind, but it was too absurd. So, Xiang Ying introduced you to me. But to hide it from my parents, I could only pretend to be a little foolish. Listening to all this, I finally understood why sometimes I found Chen Yu completely normal, and other times he seemed like an utter fool. Just then, Chen Yu's phone rang. "You beast! What nonsense are you spouting? Xiao Yi is clearly your sister. You took advantage of us being away to force her to marry you. When the Civil Affairs Bureau wouldn't allow it, you forced her back to the countryside for a wedding ritual. My poor daughter, she barely managed to escape. How could you be so cruel?" It was Chen Yu's parents on the other end. Hearing this, Chen Yu went insane, throwing his phone away and clutching his head in agony. Xiao Yi clearly loved me. "You're the ones who incited her to leave me," he finished. then picked up the phone and violently smashed it into the surveillance camera, clutching his head again. No, I didn't kill her. It wasn't me. Don't find me. Don't find me. Chen Yu screamed this, then suddenly looked up. I've had enough. I just want to be with the one I love. What did I do wrong? Why do they have to install surveillance cameras on me? The phone and the surveillance camera lay shattered on the ground. I instinctively recoiled. Chen Yu suddenly grabbed my shoulder. Can Xiao Yi and I be husband and wife in the next life? Let's quickly send Xiao Yi to the afterlife. If she crosses over, can she reincarnate? He asked me. Then answered himself, muttering, then I have to die quickly too. Otherwise, I won't be able to be husband and wife with her in the next life. With that, Chen Yu knelt down and caressed Xiao Yi's head, saying, why didn't you listen? We already performed the ritual. Why did you run away? Why didn't you just die then? If you had died then, I would have gone with you. Why would I need to look for relationship compatibility then? What did I do wrong? I just wanted to marry you. After saying this, he reverently lowered his head and kissed Xiao Yi's lips. I was aghast at the sight before me. Chen Yu was no longer acting like a normal person at all. He was exactly like the madman I'd first encountered. I even suspected he might have multiple personalities. And in the current situation, I couldn't determine who had actually killed Xiao Yi. Without finding the real culprit, Xiao Yi's resentment couldn't be resolved. She would be forever unable to reincarnate, condemned to be a walking corpse for eternity. This was too cruel for her. I looked at Xiao Yi lying on the ground and suddenly thought, if Chen Yu truly was the killer, Xiao Yi would never forgive him. And sure enough, as soon as the talisman was ripped off, Xiao Yi reached out her hand and vigorously choked Chen Yu. But the latter was smiling blissfully, as if enjoying being strangled. It was completely different from before. I quickly moved forward and reapplied the talisman. Yu. Xiao Yi's hand relaxed, and Chen Yu fell to the ground. He looked at me with a hint of resentment. I instinctively recoiled. Everything was too much, too complicated. I could no longer distinguish what the truth was, but one thing was clear. Chen Yu, at this moment, was absolutely not a good person. I retreated 2 steps, seizing the moment before he could react, and frantically ran towards the door. But Chen Yu was faster. He pushed me, and I fell to the ground. Great Master, don't leave! Help me send Xiao Yi to the afterlife, then kill me too. I want to be a pair of lost lovers with her. Ha 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 ha. He muttered to himself, picked up a fruit knife from the table, and suddenly lunged at me, his expression changing abruptly. I have to kill you. Xiao Yi and I already performed the marital bowing ritual. Why do you say we have no destiny together? I reacted instantly, grabbing his hand with one hand and kicking him hard with my foot. Chen Yu cried out in pain and let go. I quickly scrambled to my feet. Ye Xiong Yu has gone completely insane. I have to find a way to escape. Behind me, he was chasing me with the knife again. I looked at the door right in front of me and desperately lunged for it. Whack! I felt a sudden chill in my shoulder, immediately followed by excruciating pain. I turned my head and saw a fruit knife embedded in my shoulder. Chen Yu fiercely pulled the knife out. The pain was so intense that I slumped against the door, my hand on the doorknob, supporting my lower abdomen. I struggled to turn around. You dared to say Xiao Yi, and I have no destiny together. I'll kill you. So what if she's dead? She and I are the most compatible. Chen Yu raised the knife again. I felt a pang of despair. It seemed my life would end here today. Just at that critical moment, the door was suddenly opened from the outside, and I immediately lost my balance and fell to the ground. Oh, isn't that Sage Xiao? What a mess. Diane Mu's mocking voice came from above. I'm saved. Ah, the thought flashed through my mind, and a dizzying sensation flooded my brain. Whoa, what was that? Diane Mu shrieked, followed immediately by the sound of a heavy object hitting the ground. You didn't just kick Chen Yu to death, did you? Yao Ruo's voice chimed in. I felt myself being helped up. A pair of cold hands rested on my shoulder. But my eyelids were too heavy to open. Don't worry about Chen Yu anymore. Sagishiao, why are you bleeding so much? Call 911 immediately. It looks like Chen Yu almost killed him. I had lost too much blood and had no strength left. But I still managed to utter. Don't mind me. Call the police first. Get the police to arrest Chen Yu first. I can't let this stab wound be for nothing. I woke up in the hospital. Yao Ruo was waiting beside me. Diane Mu wasn't there. Seeing me awake, Yao Ruo handed me a half-eaten apple. All right, you're awake, so I'll get back to work. Diane Mu is at the police station giving a statement. He'll be over once he's done.
As soon as Yao Ruo left, Diane Mu walked in.
I'm absolutely exhausted. She casually sat on my bed, effortlessly snatching the apple from my hand and taking a bite. You wouldn't believe it, that Chen Yu's house had a headless female corpse, and her soul hadn't even departed. Luckily, I managed to send her to the afterlife before the police arrived. Well, Diane Mu swallowed her bite of apple and continued. Chen Yu's mind is completely messed up. One moment, he says he didn't kill her, that his parents did. The next, he's asking why Xiao Yi ran away. Wasn't marrying him good enough? And you know what else? Chen Yu's parents have been dead for a long time. They both died in a car accident 3 years ago. No, that's not right. I distinctly remember Chen Yu saying his parents went to look for Xiao Yi, and even called him right in the house that day. No, something's definitely off. There's a detail I must have missed. I tried to think, but I couldn't untangle it. And Diane Mu kept rambling on. Apparently, Chen Yu and Xiao Yi were always monitored by his parents when they were little. They relied on each other. And eventually, Chen Yu developed a twisted affection for Xiao Yi. When Xiao Yi refused, he tied her up and forced her into the marital bowing ritual. Xiao Yi desperately tried to escape, riding her bike away. But who knew that beast Chen Yu had tied fishing line between 2 trees? He even confessed everything at the police station, loudly proclaiming that if Xiao Yi hadn't run away, she wouldn't have died. Diane Mu finished, taking another loud bite of her apple. Now he's like a madman at the police station. One moment he says, I didn't kill her, they did. The next he's saying, If you had just stayed, you only became obedient after you died. Or something like that. What a beast. He's clearly not normal. Why didn't the police check the surveillance camera? It records his life. Couldn't they find out if he's truly insane? I asked, focusing on the key point. I remembered Chen Yu seemed very afraid of that surveillance camera. Dianmu looked at me, and her words sent a chill down my spine. The police already checked that surveillance camera. It was a fake camera, installed by his parents to control him. Hey, Chen Yu. He probably went mad a long time ago. After being discharged from the hospital, I made another trip to Chen Yu's house. It had been thoroughly cleaned, and a real estate agent had put up a for sale sign. I contacted the agent, pretending to be a prospective buyer, to get back inside. I was still troubled by Chen Yu's parents. If they had been dead for a long time, then who were the parents Chen Yu spoke of? Who made that phone call? His parents should have already reincarnated long ago, unless their souls were trapped within this house. Standing in the middle of the house, I still felt something was off. Finally, my gaze settled on the main beam. It was too abrupt, out of place with the overall layout of the house. I found a ladder and climbed up to the beam. The sight before me astonished me. The entire surface of the beam, flush against the ceiling, was covered with ghost-exterminating talismans. Beneath these talismans, an old photograph was pinned. A middle-aged couple. I took down the talismans and the photo. On the back of the photo were their names and Basi. I'm afraid these are Chen Yu's parents, I realize. They were trapped in this house, forever unable to cross over. Who could be so cruel as to use such a method? I even suspected that the death of Chen Yu's parents wasn't an accident. I placed the photo and talismans together and burned them. 2 wisps of white smoke rose, one after the other, and dissipated. A strange noise came from above my head. I quickly rushed out the door. No sooner had I stepped out of the main entrance than the beam behind me collapsed. Now, I pulled out my phone and called the real estate agent. Sir, the quality of this house is no good. The main beam just fell down. I'm not buying it anymore. Back at the temple, Master gave me a thorough scolding. Roughly, he said, someone held a knife to you. Why didn't you chop them back? Master stood with his hands on his hips, his face filled with endless regret. But as I reflected on everything, the phrase, the highest good is like water, still resonated within me, a quiet counterpoint to the chaos and violence I had witnessed.